Hello, Mark. Thank you for joining us today and sharing your experience with other customers. I know they'll find it fascinating. Can you tell us a little bit about your project?
Yeah, hi. Great to meet you too. Yes, we moved house probably back in March this year. Part of a downsizing project as our kids have moved away to university. We've moved down to Folkestone on the south coast, and we bought quite a quirky little place, which is part of the former boiler house of the Metropole Hotel on the seafront here. And it was converted originally about 15 years ago. And we've got a small part of our house sort of above ground, with a lounge and bedroom up there. And then we come down through a central sort of light well into the lower part of the house where we've got a couple more bedrooms, the study where I'm talking to you from now, and then through into the original boiler room itself, which is underneath the road next to the hotel, which is now our kitchen. So it's quite a quirky house. And as I say, it was converted about 15 years ago, but it was looking a little tired, and our project was to refurbish it and bring it back to life and make it our home until we get carted out of here at some stage, either in a box or off to a off to a care home. But of course, being part underground, and I talked about the sort of light well atrium that I sit in, our roof light through the lantern that we have is really important to us because it provides most of the light down through that light well into the home. So really important part of the building for us. And as I say, we've done a lot of work to the house, but one of the key issues was making sure we had control over that light, because there are times when you don't want it, and there are times when you need to manage the heat loss as well, because it's quite a sizable roof lantern, probably in total something like 6 meters long and 2 meters wide.
What an extraordinary home you have, and a great project. And what were the options you looked at to manage the light?
Okay, so when we moved in, when it was originally built, they had put blinds in, horizontal electric blinds, but one of them was broken and not working at all, and the other was running, but very sort of tired, if you like, lots of noise from the motor and the track. So I think we already knew that blinds were the optimal solution, but it was who could we find to either replace or refurbish them so that they would run for many years into the future. I think the property had been rented before we bought it, and perhaps renters don't always take the same care as people who own the home, and as a result they've fallen into disrepair. So we had one room where the blind didn't work at all, and it was and was effectively jammed in an open position. And over the course of the summer, that room became virtually unusable some days, simply because of the solar gain and the heat in that room. And then the other room, as I say, we were able to use the blind, but it was on its last legs. So we did look at whether there were other solutions around, curtains, but generally, when you've got a big hole in the roof with a bit of glass above it, a blind is going to be the optimal solution.
Thank you. And how's the experience with WindowTreat? You met Chris, of course, who's our electric roof lantern blind specialist.
Yeah, well, I met Chris. We chatted sort of over the phone and via email, and then Martin and Brian, a couple of your fitters, came out to meet us and then talk about the solutions. And throughout that process, we looked at our options as to whether to refurbish or replace. And in the end, it was quite clear that there was sufficient of the original equipment that we could keep, that actually enabled us to repair the one that wasn't working at all, and replace the blind, which had become a bit saggy, and some of the working parts in the other one for less than the cost of some of your competitors just simply supplying us with one new one. So we went through the process of looking at our options, and it became clear that working with your company, we could get both blinds fit for purpose for many years to come, at the cost of some of your competitors just simply replacing one of them.
Yes, and well, it was lovely to be able to reuse your existing products rather than throw it away.
Yeah, I mean, and it also meant that there was less sort of disruption to decorations and the likes, because by keeping the basic casing and tracks, and simply replacing the blind mechanism and, as I say, some of the electric functions, and obviously the one that was completely broken, the whole of the electric functions, it was environmentally friendly and less messy. The guys who came to fit it were in and out very quickly, left the place spotless.
It was always lovely to hear. We're always very proud of our team. And so you mentioned that, I mean, clearly very dependent on the roof lanterns for the source of light. And along with that comes the heat, potentially abundant level of lights at the wrong time of day in the summer, too cold in the winter. So has it solved the problems you'd hoped it would?
Yes. So we're one of the benefits of our bedrooms, or at least the ones my wife and I use, being underground, is that we benefit from a constant temperature most of the year. It's very comfortable to sleep down here. But having the blind means that we keep that temperature constant because it's thermal. So at night, particularly as we move into the winter, we're not losing the heat, and we've got a very energy efficient home as a result. But it's also almost perfectly black. And I have to say, we've never slept as well, because nice constant temperature, really quiet because we're underground, and with that blackout from the blind, means that we really do rely on the alarm to get up. But also in the summer, we're not getting woken up at 4 o'clock when the sun comes out and everybody else is finding that something's a chink of light coming through the curtains, no matter how well you fit them. So it gives us that benefit. And yeah, we are, as I speak to you, we're coming into winter. We've hardly had our heating on. The place is constant, and I've no doubt that the blinds are part of that thermal fabric of the building. That means that whilst others unfortunately are struggling with energy costs at the moment, we will be relatively comfortable in our nicely insulated home.
Maybe that's the way of the future, Mark.
Well, I work in the property industry, and I've always been a big believer in super insulation of homes. I've worked with passive house developments, which are based on highly thermally efficient buildings, and you cannot get more efficient than having a load of earth around you. And as I say, the light wells are really important parts of the house because it allows that light in so that we're not living in a cave. But having your blinds there to give us control over that light, so we get just the right amount at the right time, and having the thermal barrier included within it, making sure that any heat that's being generated by us simply living in the home is not lost out of the roof light. So, yeah, who knows? We might all be troglodytes in the future.
And the
WindowTreat blind to let the sun in.
And the $1,000,000 question for you, Mark, is: would you recommend WindowTreat to friends and family?
Yeah, I mean, we had a great experience both through comparing quotes with other companies, talking with Chris about our options, having that reinforced when the guys came around to do the survey, and the day of the fitting itself arrived bang on time. They were polite, courteous, did the job quickly and efficiently, tidied up perfectly afterwards. And yeah, I mean, I'm hoping these are going to be lasting for many, many years. But if and when they do come to the end of their life, providing I haven't come to the end of mine by then, we'll be back in touch if you're still around. And I'd certainly recommend you to anybody else.
Thank you. Thanks for that recommendation. That's music to my ears.